The shadow of self-awareness is the feeling of being stuck in life. There is such a thing as being too self-aware if, and it's a huge if we're not de-thawing ourselves from the neck down, because here's what happens. Self-awareness is a conscious mental skill. We stretch our conscious capacity through becoming aware of our patterns, our behaviors, our needs, our desires, all of those juicy things. But so much of that can get kind of stuck from the neck up, which leads us to be really stuck in life because we lose connection to our emotional capacity, our somatic experience, which is where our intuition, our instinct, and our decision making comes from. So if you're grappling with wanting to make just better decisions, or you're chewing on making a big decision in life, chances are you're in the shadow of being too self-aware. So in this video, I really want to break down how to get unstuck, even if you're so self-aware. I want to dive into some of the just basic fears that are really driving that operating system and help you just understand and learn some practices to de-thaw yourself so that you can live more from the neck down, because that is where life gets juicy. So if you're new here, my name's Kev. I'm an award-winning furniture designer and a creative strategist, and I help ambitious creatives design and build a life and business that they love, and I help them do it from the inside out. Because let's face it, there's only ever two games that we're playing in life, and this ties in perfectly to what we're talking about today. There's the outside-in game that says circumstance dictates my inner state of being, and then there's the inside-out game that says I choose how I want to relate to life happening around me, regardless of circumstance. Now, the way that this weaves into our story about being so self-aware is when we're so self-aware, we're really tuned into our fears. We're really tuned in to predominantly one of two fears. The fear of what might happen and the fear of what might not happen. It's really so simple like that. So we have a decision that we want to make, and we're so aware of these fears that we're really allowing the circumstances or the outcomes to dictate how we would feel. We are not in a state where we're choosing to move towards our desire, to move towards love, to move towards opening our gift. We're stuck and we're trying to play the game of what's right and what's wrong, which is futile. There's no such thing as a right and wrong decision. There's consequences for certain decisions, of course. Everything's an opportunity to learn, everything's an opportunity to grow. And when it comes to those feelings of maybe I'm being tested, oh God, I'm being tested in this area, you can't fail the test. You're gonna be given the perfect context, the perfect scenario to learn what you need to learn over and over and over again. So the fear of what might happen and the fear of what might not happen is really a product of us being so much in our minds. Because what is most true often isn't a thought, it's a sensation or a feeling in our body. Those fears are real. And the stuckness that we feel when we're just constantly trying to mitigate the fears, avoid loss, avoid failure, avoid rejection, avoid losing money, whatever the heck it is, we're just stuck up here. And you might be able to live a good life from the neck up, but you're not going to live a great life. Great decision making, really just aligned action, really inspirational and expansive connection, all comes from the body, comes from sort of the center up, the root up, I should say. Desire itself is in sort of, you can't see, desire itself is in, the lower belly, like the root. Your intuition is your gut, your second brain, which is actually your first brain, because 80% of the signaling is sent from the gut to the brain, only 20% is sent down. So all this to say, when we're really too self-aware and we're not allowing ourselves the space to tune into our body, to tune into our intuition, our instinct, we're shutting down those capacities further and depending even more on our mind, which makes us more stuck, because it's like asking a computer, give me the pros and cons of all these decisions I could make. It'll give you a list of pros and cons for every decision that you'll make, which won't help you understand any more clearly what you crave, because what you crave isn't mental, it's in your body, it's a desire, it's an emotion. When you remove your emotionality from the decision-making process, you can't make decisions. It doesn't matter how smart you are. So the call to what I call de-thaw, from the neck down, is to observe the fears that come up, observe how we let circumstance dictate our inner state, observe how we're really trying to figure out the future before moving forward, right? Observe the fears that are running, and try your best to just take a deep breath to downshift, set them in a little metaphorical box, and get keen with what you're feeling in your body. Does the decision of, let's say, moving, does that give me butterflies? Does that make me close? But does that also kind of make my heart beat a little bit faster? Like, wow, that's really exciting. Tune into those cues. Tune into how your body feels. Does the thought of wanting to, network with somebody or make a connection really just feel good to you? Like, yeah, like that's it. That's the next step. Cultivate intimacy with those feelings, with maybe what your gut says, before we kind of blow it to kingdom come with all the thought looping, right? Because when we're so self-aware, we're just looping. Oh, but I have this pattern of self-sabotaging when something good comes my way, but is it really good? I don't know, it could be really good, but oh man, I'm kind of doubting that this is actually it. Is it the right time? Mars is in retrograde, whatever it is, right? Again, if that's you, have compassion, because I know what that's like. I operate so much in those feelings of stuckness, of being too self-aware too. But the way through is to de-thaw, to connect more to our emotions. And I'll be the first to say that a huge one, most of the people that I see that are really stuck don't have access to anger. I went 27 years of my life without having access to what one of my teachers, Mark Groves, calls clean anger. Clean anger being anger that's not directed at anyone or anything, anger that is your own expression of what wants to move through you, the frustration of feeling confused, of not having the answer, of not being met, whatever that is, and being able to move that and mobilize that. When we repress emotions like anger, grief, shame, sadness, all the not so pretty ones, those become our constraints, those become our limitations. Because to really make great decisions, to get unstuck and to create from a more wholesome place, a more whole place rather, we need access to all of us. And anytime you're suppressing or repressing an emotion, that takes energy. So it takes energy to sustain pushing down very real sensations. So we push down, we use all of our emotional bandwidth to push down emotions, and so we try to be logical about everything. But life isn't logical, right? Life is so non-linear, and I would reckon if you look at some of the greatest gifts you've experienced or the best moments, likely didn't come from thinking, they came from feeling. So to create access and the permission of safety for yourself to start mobilizing some of those more dense emotions, anger, shame, this and that, just having a conversation with them, asking them if there's anything they'd like you to know. Whatever that is for you, seeing a somatic therapist will help you blast these puppies through your system and help you really get to know yourself more. But even just some self-inquiry can do wonders. And when you get access to more of yourself, more of your body, more of your emotions, you're able to make more confident, more embodied, more efficient decisions. And of course, look, you still might make decisions that you do it and you're like, man, in retrospect, I see I should have done X, Y, Z. that's always going to be a part of life. You know, hindsight's always 20/20. But I feel like it's better to be connected to your intuition, your emotions, and what life craves of you, and to take a step, than to continually loop in stories of self-doubt, of self-sabotage, of fear, and stay stuck. So de-thawing really comes at acknowledging those fears, that they're so real, but inquiring upon what's the emotion hidden behind those fears. It's anger for not knowing the way, frustration for feeling like I'm just not fully being supported by life, community, my work, whatever that is, right? So this will help you really begin to get unstuck in life so that you can create from a place where you have more life force energy, which is gonna help you make more intimate, deep, fulfilling relationships, help you scale, start, grow your business, whatever that is, expand your artistry and your creativity. I see it time and time again, and in my own life especially, the more I gain access to allowing myself to mobilize these emotions, the more breakthroughs, the more expansion, and just the overall more balanced I feel. You know, the goal isn't to always be happy. If that's your goal, you're gonna probably avoid the things that don't look like happiness, which actually is gonna make you not feel happy, right? Or it's artificial. You just wanna be alive. The goal is to be alive, to feel everything and move through the wisdom and the lessons that all these emotions have to offer you. And I guarantee you'll feel significantly less stuck. You'll make great decisions, some not so great, but you'll be so much more open and available to life, which is exactly the ingredients to creating an extraordinary life. So if you want more in-depth insight, wisdom practices, sign up for my newsletter below, and especially get on the waitlist for the Embodied Creator Toolkit to really become the most embodied version of yourself so that you can give your creativity to the world fully, freely, and confidently. So thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.